is my pleasure to present Adam Hull.
Thank you, Dick. Hey, guys. Was it luck? Was it God? Was it destiny? I had just turned 16 years old with a new car and a new driver's license. And like many teenagers my age, I thought I was indestructible. Until one night when I was racing myself and 3 of my friends down a back state highway in Spencer, Oklahoma. I looked down to see the speedometer at 125 miles per hour. I look back up and see a deer standing still in the middle of the road. Thanks to youthful instincts, we don't flip the car, and we're all able to walk away. One of my friends had a snapped femur, the car was totaled, the deer was gone, and we were all blessed to be alive. A month passes, and the state of shock that I was in was just now going away. The big goose egg bruise that was on my left temple was fading away, and the pain that wasn't there before started coming in the form of unbearable migraines. At least once a month, I would have to rush to the ER, it seemed like, because of these migraines. The doctors didn't understand what was causing them. All they knew to do was mask the pain. So I started pain management. This is what led to my inevitable overdose. Almost dying at the age of 22, I wake up to the sound of my wife, Jamie, calling my name. I open my eyes, and I see a hospital room around me. Jamie tells me that we're in the ICU, and I try to make light of the situation, not really understanding yet what was happening. And then she tells me that I had an accidental overdose late the night before. I had taken my nightly doctor-prescribed medicine, which included Ambien, Oxycontin extended release, Percocet for breakthrough pain, Lyrica, and sometimes on really bad days, they even gave me Dilaudid. I would sleepwalk sometimes on the Ambien, and I sleptwalked that night. And the first thing that my unconscious, subconscious mind thought to do was to take more pills. After all, I had built up a physical and psychological dependence and addiction over the 6 years of taking them. My struggle with addiction has led me into a life of passion for helping our society, using traditional cultural herbs, such as kratom and cannabis, to give quality of life to those who have been mentally imprisoned for years by dangerous and addictive medicines. Now stop and imagine. Imagine addiction, and if it's affecting someone close to you, or maybe even yourself. Think about how that addiction affects every person that it's inside of, about how it transforms them until they're practically unrecognizable. If not physically, then at least emotionally. Now think about the person to your left and to your right, in front and behind. Now compound that pain by every person in this room, by every person in this state, by every person in the country. Transforming once beautiful people into something else that can be beautiful again. That is the opioid epidemic. By destiny, led by God, and with a bit of luck, I'm able to share my story with you today on this very stage. As a growing young man, I had a 33% higher chance of becoming addicted or dependent on drugs, according to the National Institute of Drug Abuse. I became a statistic. The first stat that I was a part of is when I was in my car wreck as a teenager. The next is when I became one of those 33% who become addicts. And lastly, I became a stat when I had my accidental overdose. Life as I knew it was slipping away, and society only saw me as another number. In high school, I played competitive soccer. I had a lot of friends. I was a 4.0 student. I was the co-dean of the youth council for the United Methodist Church for the whole state of Oklahoma. I wanted to be a youth minister or a pastor. My wife and I were only married for 3 months whenever I had my overdose. I was in the hospital for about a week, and I went straight into detox from there. The withdrawals were agonizing, even with the Suboxone and other medicines. But for the first time ever, I was starting to hear stories that were similar to my own, or worse. Those could have easily been me. Once I was out of detox, the real pain began. Post-acute withdrawal syndrome is basically withdrawal on steroids. It happens whenever you're on a substance of abuse for a long period of time, and it's even worse whenever that period of time is during a developing age, like mine. I was unable to work and miserable. On top of all the migraines and neck pain that were coming back, I had no way to control that pain anymore. Tylenol definitely wasn't going to do the trick at this point. 6 months passed until I finally felt decent enough to get a job. Still miserable and barely able to work. I was looking on Yahoo News, of all places, and saw a random article about kratom. Kratom is a coffee tree cousin that's grown in Southeast Asia, primarily Indonesia, and it's been used for thousands of years medicinally. So I was curious. I found a local shop in Oklahoma City. I did a little more research. I get home and I open the bag and it's this strong-smelling tea. And it tasted terrible. And I thought, this is hopeless. But I was desperate. 20 minutes later, I felt normal again. For the first time since I could remember. Since my car wreck all those years ago. It amazed me. It amazed my wife. My pain went from an 8 to a 2. I was completely coherent, and it did have an active-like effect. It was calming but almost energetic in an indescribable way. Jamie had a glimmer of hope in getting the man that she loved back. Because God knows, she had every right to leave me after what I put her through with my addiction. Fast forward 7 years to today. I still use kratom 7 days a week to manage my neck pain and migraines. Kratom's scientific name is Mitragyna speciosa, and it's got 2 primary alkaloids. This is the boring part, it's the science, but you guys need to know it. It works in the brain similar to opioids. Both alkaloids that work, mitragynine and hydromitragynine, it's one of those weird ones, but it works on your opioid receptors. And remember, kratom's not an opiate, it's a coffee cousin. It just has opiate-like properties, similar to chocolate. Chocolate interacts with your opioid receptors as well. It can have slight withdrawal symptoms from prolonged use, but scientifically it's equivalent to bad caffeine or sugar withdrawal. It's slightly diuretic, but regular hydration, most see no issues whatsoever. It can have liver issues in very, very, very rare circumstances, but you see signs in plenty of time and can stop use. Remember, kratom's a coffee cousin, not an opiate. Not from the poppy plant, not from the cannabis plant. Former FDA Commissioner Scott Gottlieb attributed 47 deaths to kratom between the time January 2011 to April 2018. Kratom was the sole factor in 0 of these deaths. Most of these deaths had actual hard drugs in their system, such as heroin or cocaine, and they were probably using kratom to try and get off of these drugs to manage their withdrawals. The FDA went so far as to put names on this list. They were murdered, shot in the chest with a shotgun, but he had kratom in his system, so they said kratom was a cause of death. The alkaloids attach and release from your opioid receptors. When opioids just stay attached, that's what causes the high physical addiction and dependence and respiratory depression issues, which causes most withdrawal syndromes. Kratom also counteracts most withdrawal syndromes from opiates naturally. The amount of kratom you would have to take to overdose on kratom, your stomach couldn't hold it. You would just get super, super sick. It would be miserable. I mean, you go eat a leaf off of a tree and just keep doing it, and you tell me how you feel. You're gonna get sick, you know? It's just too much, but your body tells you. It's as simple as that, though, guys. Eating a leaf off of a tree. Sounds too good to be true, but it's a game changer. Which is why 3 years ago I opened a business to sell kratom. But it wasn't for the business opportunity or the big picture. I was doing it to help people. I wanted to introduce people to this amazing plant, maybe save a life or two, like it did for me. So I took our last $200, begrudgingly from my wife. It was tough. But I started a website, and we started to grow. We got hooked up on Facebook and social media, and I found this whole amazing kratom community. Locals started coming out of the woodwork. It was crazy. They didn't know anyone else knew about this plant. We were half the price or more than half the price of all of our competition, and what our customers told us, we offered a superior product and service. But we built relationships. My customers became my version of Narcotics Anonymous, and they became that for me. It was amazing. We could confide in each other. It was my support system. And I would say only half of our customers are even addicts. And 99% of those addicts are normal people just like me, trying to take advantage of their second chance at life because of this plant, kratom. The other half are people just like all of you, all walks of life, from the homeless to millionaires, from broken fingers to cancer. Pain does not discriminate. And it's not just pain. Kratom and cannabis both help a wide range of issues, from mental health to PTSD to lupus, RA, I could go on. So why has the FDA labeled it as a dangerous drug? Because plants, like cannabis, can't be patented. Proven fact. Areas with relaxed cannabis laws have lower opioid use. The federal government will inevitably deschedule cannabis. If you combine that with kratom's potential, the sky is the limit. I had the honor to hear Mayor Holt announce the MAPS 4 project in August at the Sheridan earlier this year. The way he spoke about mental health and criminal reform, homelessness and the opioid crisis here at home in our communities really got me thinking. Our state has a huge opportunity. We can stand up for herbal medicinal options. We can capitalize on being an up-and-coming cannabis market competitor. And on top of that, kratom is cheap. We can easily set up free programs. We can help all of our local homeless, addicts, mental health, criminals, whatever, today with this plant. All we need is proper oversight and regulation to ensure a safe product for businesses and consumers alike. No matter the type of business, there's always going to be bad people who try and take advantage where and when they're able to. And this is preventable and necessary. The Kratom Consumer Protection Act is a bill that's coming up in many states across the country. And Oklahoma has already supported kratom once, in a way. Back in 2014, when the synthetic cannabis problem, the K2 synthetic cannabis problem was going around, Oklahoma was rushing to ban the synthetic compounds used to make the dangerous product. In this bill, somehow kratom got thrown in as a ban item. Surprisingly, Oklahoma did its due diligence, and they took it off and replaced it with an 18 years or older age restriction requirement. Makes sense. Georgia, Utah, and Nevada are the only 3 states so far to pass the KCPA, the Act. It requires businesses that sell kratom to register with the state, to have lab tests, to have batch numbers, and so you can ensure shipment to cell tracking. It sounds really similar to medical cannabis here in Oklahoma. The only difference is kratom does not get you high, and cannabis does. But ultimately, they are 2 God-given plants. So why not take it a step further? Why not create an Oklahoma Board of Herbal Medicine? You can have a class system based off of the incoherence level of the plant. You have different oversight levels, just depending on if you get messed up or not. I mean, it's as simple as that. You have laws for alcohol that gets you drunk. Why can't you have the same for plants? This opens the door to even a bigger picture. This opens the door to bringing in traditional Native American cultural herbs and other cultures' herbs. Oklahoma could be the first to revolutionize the healthcare system in an all-natural way. If I were looking to fix the opioid epidemic, this is what I would do. America is the world's melting pot. And the world has been around a lot longer than America has. So maybe it's time for us to recognize that the world might know what it's doing. Here's a stat that I would like to be a part of. Oklahoma, the first state to have a board of herbal medicine. Oklahoma being the first state in history to revolutionize the healthcare system in an all-natural way. Prescribing dangerous medicines when there are more and safe alternative, in many cases natural methods, such as kratom and cannabis, is leading our society into an even deeper opioid epidemic. Unintentionally, though many in our healthcare system do truly care about their work and their patients, the system is designed to trap Americans suffering from different health problems. So I ask again, was it luck? Was it God? Was it destiny? I struggle with these three questions on a daily basis. Who I am today is not who I would have been. Simply being on this stage now is a direct result of the two huge life experiences I spoke to you about previously. Hindsight is 20/20, and I wouldn't change a thing about my past. My past has only brought me to recognize and realize the more important real things in life. My name is Adam Hull, and I am a son, a husband, a brother, a business owner, pioneer, and advocate, but most of all, I am an addict. And kratom saved my life. So isn't it our obligation to at least do the same for others? Thank you.